Hey guys, this is Jason, and my next classic movie review is The Matrix, directed by the Wachowskis and stars Keanu Reeves, Laurence Fishburne, Carrie Moss, Hugo Weaving, and Joe Pantoliano. It is about Thomas Anderson, or Neo, played by Keanu Reeves, a hacker that gets recruited by Carrie Moss as Trinity to come to this group that's led by Morpheus, played by Laurence Fishburne, that come from a different world that Neo is not used to seeing. And that's all I'm gonna say if you don't want to know the real plot for this film if you haven't seen it yet, which I am gonna mention the real plot of this film. So if you have not seen The Matrix yet, then what are you doing? Stop watching this video. Go watch The Matrix first and then come back to this video because there are a couple of things I am gonna spoil. So when he gets recruited by Trinity and taken to this team led by Morpheus, a lot of people think that he is the one that will save humanity from the machines and the Matrix. And then he later finds out the horrible truth about the world when he wakes up from this pod and sees a bunch of other people in their pods plugged into this computer system called the Matrix, where everyone is living inside a fake reality where it's also being led by a bunch of agents, where one of them is the main villain of the film, Agent Smith, played by Hugo Weaving. And when Neo learns more about the Matrix, he finds out that there are people working with Morpheus that can help program him to learn big moves like jiu-jitsu or kung fu. And characters like Morpheus, Trinity, and most of the other people that are with Morpheus want to help Neo save humanity because a lot of them believe that he is, wait for it, the one. By the way, if you look at the name Neo, you can switch it around and have it say one. This movie was game-changing for a lot of audiences and critics. When they first saw this film, they were all like, whoa. It got a lot of praise from critics and audiences. It made people take notice of the Wachowskis and made people take a lot more notice of Keanu Reeves as an action star. And also got a few sequels, which weren't as good, but they were at least watchable, although Matrix Resurrections isn't really that watchable for me. And they also made an anthology film with a bunch of anime shorts that take place during the events of the Matrix films. I do recommend watching that if you're a fan of The Matrix. And if you want to know my thoughts on its sequels, Reloaded can be fun at times, but it's not all that great. Revolutions can have some fun moments, but it's a very disappointing finale. And Matrix Resurrections is pretty much, in my opinion, the worst one in the franchise. It had too much nostalgia that made it feel like nostalgia bait instead of having a new story, and it had very bland and forgettable action sequences, which is something that a Matrix film should not have. It also started a trend where a bunch of action films in the early 2000s were trying to rip off the Matrix, and a lot of them failed miserably. I did not see this movie in theaters because I was like 2 when that movie came out. I did not grow up watching that film as a kid, but I do remember my dad talking about the film sometimes when I was growing up, and it wasn't until I turned into a teenager where I finally watched The Matrix and it blew me away. It really surprised me, and the more I watched it, I liked it more and more. But I've seen some cartoons and some movies where they did reference The Matrix, but I didn't realize they were from The Matrix until I watched the film as a teenager. And in case some of you guys don't know, this movie was inspired by a bunch of movies in the past that are similar to The Matrix, like Strange Days or Metropolis, or some anime films like Akira or Ghost in the Shell. Especially Ghost in the Shell, because if you watch both Ghost in the Shell and The Matrix back to back, you immediately see the similarities. Keanu Reeves is really good in the film. He plays a normal guy who is also a hacker, but is also wondering more about what the Matrix is, because he has a feeling that something's wrong about his life. Like after he's first introduced and he gives his dealer some of his stuff, he asks him a question that if he has the feeling that he's not sure that he's awake and if he's still dreaming. And then we soon see why Neo has that feeling when he he wakes up from his pod and sees a bunch of plugs all over him, and he looks over and sees a bunch of other people still sleeping in their pods. And then later Morpheus explains everything to Neo about how the Matrix works and why a bunch of people are plugged into the Matrix. It becomes overwhelming for him knowing that his whole life has been a big lie. And that is a terrible feeling when you wake up from the Matrix and knowing that everything you used to know isn't real, and you do sympathize for Neo when he learns that. And this movie made a lot of people take notice of Keanu Reeves as an action star. Yes, he had movies like the Bill and Ted films and Speed and Point Break and The Devil's Advocate, but this was the film that made people look at Keanu Reeves and go, oh, that's the guy from The Matrix. I remember him from The Matrix. A lot of people used to recognize him for that film back then, and now people recognize him more as John Wick. I do love him as John Wick in his 4 films, and I loved him in Speed, and I really liked him in The Devil's Advocate, and The Matrix for me is on par with all of those films that I just mentioned. The action sequences are still awesome to watch, even by today's standards. They are well shot and well choreographed. Also, fun fact, one of Keanu Reeves' stunt doubles in this film is Chad Stahelski, who is now known for directing all 4 of the John Wick films. Thought that one would be a cool fact for you to know. When you look at the action sequences, you can really tell that they were inspired by John Woo films and other anime films, like I just mentioned Ghost in the Shell. They gave us some of the most iconic fight sequences, like the final fight between Neo and Agent Smith, played excellently by Hugo Weaving. Mr. Anderson, I'm going to enjoy watching you die. My name is Neo. And of course, we get the famous bullet time scenes when Neo and Agent Smith are shooting at each other, or when Neo and Trinity are on top of this building and Neo is dodging a bunch of bullets that are being shot at him. Another thing I gotta mention is Don Davis's score. He has made one of the best movie scores of all time, where he makes it feel more immersive and engaging for the audience. Now, like I said with Neo being overwhelmed that his old life was a lie when he was in the Matrix, it also shows how it affects some people when they're in the Matrix, because there are some people that got out of the Matrix that want to stay back in the Matrix so that they can pretend that what they're witnessing around them isn't real. They just want to go back to where everything was normal for them. And the best way for me to explain that is that I would have to spoil a big twist that happens to one of the characters in the halfway point of the film. So again, if you have not seen The Matrix, please go watch it. Stop watching this video, go watch The Matrix, and then watch this video. So I'm gonna mention the big twist that happens halfway in. So Cypher, let's talk about him, played by Joe Pantoliano. He's one of the guys that works with Morpheus and kind of has a thing for Trinity, and he's revealed to be a twist villain that's actually working for Agent Smith. And his reason for that is understandable. You do understand why he doesn't like to live in the real world, but his motive for wanting to betray Morpheus and help Agent Smith does make him seem a little delusional, where he does so because he wants to go back in the Matrix and have his memory erased so that he won't remember everything that he's experienced in the real world, so that he can go back to living his own fantasies the way he wants them to be. And that's supposed to show what the Matrix could do to some people, not only show them a fake reality that they're in, but it can also poison their minds, making them want to go back to that fake life. Another thing I want to mention about this film is how it uses color, in particular green and blue. Like, there's a green tint when the characters are in the Matrix, a blue tint for when characters are in the real world, and a little bit of red for a hellish look for when Neo is seeing all the pods around him. And that actually works for the film, where the green tint makes the Matrix scenes look and feel unnatural, while the blue tint makes the real world feel more isolated and cold. And all that is shot well by Bill Pope, who does a really good job by making the action sequences and the world of the Matrix feel and look real. And I think he's kind of an underrated cinematographer, and if you don't know who that is, just in case, he is known for shooting films like Darkman, Army of Darkness, The Matrix 2 and 3, Spider-Man 2, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The World's End, Baby Driver, and Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. Yeah, as you can tell, this guy is a very talented cinematographer. This movie started a trend of action films from the 2000s that did not do well. Movies like Battlefield Earth, The One starring Jet Li, not a very subtle title, and Ballistic X vs. Sever. Yeah, that's actually what that movie's called, and that movie itself is just as bad as the title itself. They also made a film called Equilibrium that is like The Matrix, although that one is actually pretty entertaining. I actually like that one. And it was also the one that made people take notice of the Wachowskis, and they made a lot of other films since then, but unfortunately, every other film they did after The Matrix never managed to be as good as that film. I mean, they've had a couple of good ones, like their first film Bound is pretty good, but they've also made some films that are kind of a mixed bag, like Cloud Atlas, and some really terrible movies like Jupiter Ascending. And for me personally, this is still my favorite film of theirs, and I think it's going to continue to be my favorite of theirs for a long time. It's just one of those things that can never be duplicated. Although I am curious to see Drew Goddard's take on the Matrix franchise, which, in case of you don't know, he has been confirmed to direct a new Matrix film, and I am kind of curious to see how it is, because I do think this franchise needs to change some things up and make it feel more fresh. Also, if you don't know who Drew Goddard is, he's known for writing a few films like The Martian and being a part of the Daredevil series, which is an awesome interpretation of the Daredevil character. Guys, The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of those films I like to watch at least once a year, every year, and sometimes I feel like watching Reloaded and Revolutions, and the Animatrix as well, but not Resurrections. I never really feel like watching that film again. And it's one of those films from 1999 that I think still holds up to this day. I'm gonna give The Matrix an A+. So guys, if you have seen The Matrix, either back when it was in theaters, or if you're a newcomer to the Matrix franchise, what did you think about it? Even though I did spoil a couple of things in this video that you probably shouldn't have heard, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know this: what do you guys think about Drew Goddard directing another Matrix film, which he's, again, known for writing The Martian, but also known for writing Cloverfield, the Daredevil series, and directing The Cabin in the Woods. Also, if you like seeing me do classic movie reviews, so far I have movies like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Gremlins, and Taken, and I have a lot more to come in the future, and you will see the playlist for those videos in the end of this one. And as always, if you like this review, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.